everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our ESCFI Partner Spotlight. We're super excited to have Mary Reinhardt with us here today. Mary's with First Makerspace, and I love when we have educators who have created solutions for educators. Mary's going to share the solution that she has created for educators and talk about how that can be looped into the digital learning grant. And an exciting piece is that First Makerspace is a partner of ESCFI, which means if your school is a member of an educational service center, you get special pricing from First Makerspace. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mary.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Christy. I am really excited to be here today and to share a little bit about First Makerspace, but to also really offer some suggestions and opportunities for partnerships with different districts across Indiana as they really look to the digital learning grant and how to implement some of the really amazing opportunities that come with those grant funds. And so I'll tell you, I guess I'll start by just kind of sharing a little bit about First Makerspace and myself. So First Makerspace, we design, build, and sustain makerspaces across Indiana and offer a complete line of maker ed and STEM education products and services. I myself, like Christy said, am a former educator and taught family and consumer sciences for 5 years in the classroom before going to the Department of Education and working on academic standards and a lot of programming related to engineering and technology and STEM education. And so I'm really excited to be a part of the Maker Education opportunity and network in Indiana. And there's a lot of ways that making can integrate into blended learning. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is bringing hands-on learning to students. That's really purposeful. And when it comes to student engagement, one thing we now know post-COVID is that hands-on learning is really essential to how students learn, how they retain information. And although there's lots of different opportunities for students to engage and learn together in blended and hybrid and in-person learning environments, those hands-on opportunities are really key to student both engagement and retention and reinforcement. And so that's what we hope to be able to bring to the table when it comes to really creating and making these blended learning environments really successful for students. So I want to kind of start out, there's a lot, and kind of take a little bit of a poll. If you're here today, type in the chat, what does your online or classroom environment in general look like? Are you doing online or virtual learning, blended or hybrid learning, or in-person learning? Most schools that I can kind of see right now are completely in person, although there are some exceptions to that. And so just kind of wanted to take kind of a pulse to see what people were doing across the state. So feel free to fill that in the chat. I'm going to address kind of why makerspaces in any of these environments. So obviously in-person is where making thrives, because making it and STEM education is really social. We learn to collaborate together. And so I want to kind of start out with the why behind making, though. And it really kind of all goes back to hope and engagement. These seem like such basic concepts, but if students don't have buy-in, they don't feel hopeful, they're not engaged in their learning, then they're not going to remember what they're learning. And that's what we're seeing across the state and really across the nation in terms of academic engagement with students. If they're not involved, they don't feel like they have buy-in to their own education, they just aren't successful in the way that we want to see students be successful. And so we've learned so much about what we want students to take away from their educational experience, but one of the most important pieces are some of these employability skills. And that's where making really shines. What will Indiana be like in the next 8 years, in 2030? What will the workforce be like? What skills will be valued by employers? Because we want to set students up for success today, but also for what it's like when our second graders and third graders are getting ready to graduate from high school and college and beyond. We want to create an innovative workforce of problem solvers, creative thinkers, and stakeholders as well. And I see a makerspace in some way, shape, or form, really in every school and community, because it's such a valuable opportunity for community partnerships. We know that innovation and has led to so much automation, and that has changed the role of how we involve in the workplace as well. And so those are all just kind of questions that I pose to wonder about as we consider makerspaces for really these blended learning environments. So here I have kind of a comparison of in-person and online ways that you can engage students in hands-on learning, specifically around making and STEM education. And so in person, one great way to engage students and really get them involved is to have some sort of tinkering lesson available. So it could be, there's different manipulatives that you can use. You could set things out like Legos or other tinkering type toys and give students a very open-ended challenge that gives them an opportunity to think and create different solutions. In an online environment, that could look like open tinkering time at home with things that you have. So it does look a little bit different depending on whether you're in person or online. In person, in a makerspace, you have hands-on school equipment, you have laser cutters and 3D printers, and you have the opportunity to supply some of that for student use. However, online, students aren't going to have all of that technology at home. There are, thankfully, some simulators for equipment that can simulate and give students a part of that experience, at least, though. Specifically, I think of the Microbit and some other virtual reality types of programs with robotics. There's a lot that has developed in the last few years that could be an asset for maker education and STEM education, and career and technical education as well. The next one is consumables and kits. So a lot of different STEM classes use different consumables and kits to create, to make it easy to implement different projects. That is something that is easy to solve in an online experience, in that you can create individual STEM kits that go home with students in some sort of way. They get picked up, dropped in a school lunch, or mailed to students even, and those can be coordinated as weekly or monthly deliveries that really go with what students are doing in the classroom, and can be used to fit a variety of circumstances. And that's something that First Makerspace does really well. In person, makerspaces are solving real world challenges, and you're doing that online too, as well as collaborating, whether it's in person or online. That is what making is all about. It's the social aspect of collaboration. And so those are aspects that we can help schools build out really purposefully as they consider blended learning environments and how to make them better for students. One solution that could be a potential option, that you may have one of these even already, is a virtual makerspace. If you're in an online learning environment, virtual makerspaces offer the opportunity to explore a lot of different making and tinkering and engineering online products. Everything from building Legos online to learning how to code with Dash and Dot here. This is a virtual makerspace made by our education director at First Makerspace, Amber Hudson. And this is a great example of what a virtual makerspace for elementary education could look like. So this would be a great way to send and share links with students, really from K, I would say, all the way up through 8. And there's other ways that you can create virtual spaces as well. But this is a great example, something that looks really easy to navigate for students, but also shares a lot of resources and gives students some directed ways to apply what they've learned in the classroom. So this is one option that could be developed out to help with some of these blended models. Some other ideas that I've come up with, and I'd be interested to hear what you have to say too. We're not a universal learning design professional development company, but I think making fits within how UDL looks in the classroom. And it's certainly part of the solution to student engagement and getting students involved with voice and choice. And so here are some ideas for how First Makerspace could collaborate with your school or district to bring learning to life. So one option is some professional development specifically for teachers with blended makerspaces. There's a lot of challenges with hands-on learning and logistics. And so being able to have some time to work on and purposefully navigate those situations in partnership with First Makerspace, or the other, and we could bring a lot of other opportunities to the table here as well. So that's one option that I could see us fitting in with. Individual STEM kits are another opportunity. And so if you have a specific need for a specific kit, or want to teach specific concepts in a hands-on way, we can help with that and offer suggestions that would help you accomplish your goals. We have a variety of kits available that aren't even available on our website. So please feel free to reach out if you have any specific needs in this area, and we'd be happy to help. Also developing a virtual makerspace. That's something that I think we'd be interested in helping with if you're looking to share some of this information with students on a website or in another way. That's an option that we can help with as well. Or the First Makerspace Elementary Maker Curriculum is on our website. It's free, and so feel free to check that out and to access it on the web. In our second version of the Elementary Maker Curriculum, we created a Canvas plugin so that will put all of the lessons into Canvas if you use that as your learning management system. And so that's an option too that really helps with that blended experience. It gives students something online that is compatible to some of the in-person instruction that's going on. And so if you're interested in more details about that, please reach out as well. There's just so many opportunities for partnership here, and it's really great to see some of this come together. Some of the individual STEM kits I can think of would be, exploring electricity. We have small make-do kits that are really great for sending home with students. Same with BristleBots and paper circuits, the Monster Racer, the flashlight. These are really fun projects that students enjoy doing, and it really changes the way they approach their learning time when they can make something that they get to use in their play, but also in the exploration of some of the concepts that they're learning in their online environment. Here's a little bit more about the curriculum that I mentioned. It's on our website, and I'd be happy to give anyone a tour of kind of what that looks like today in our online learning portal. Check it out on our website, and all you have to do is create an account to access it. One more resource that I want to mention, and then I want to give some time for questions, is just how to create a virtual makerspace. We do have a how-to guide on our YouTube channel that walks through the process of how to create one that is in this Bitmoji type of template. So if you're interested in that, that is on our First Makerspace YouTube channel, and it's called How to Create a Virtual Makerspace. Here's my information and my email address. I'd be happy to answer any questions and to meet with any of you to collaborate together on how to integrate maker education and STEM education into your blended learning environments to really bring learning to life and create higher student engagement across several different other projects that you have going on. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I look forward to working with you.
Wow, Mary, your company offers a lot of solutions for schools, and I'm going to circle back a little bit to our digital learning grant that the Department of Ed just released, which would help fund this, right? So there are three strands basically that the money can be used for. The first one, building teacher capacity and learning for high quality blended and online learning instructional practices and strategies, is outlined in the educator standards. And so talk a little bit about just that support, that obviously your materials are easy to use, and how you can support educators in using your solutions.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much of ed tech. There's so many different products on the market that are hands-on. And so one thing that we can really help with is helping schools and principals, STEM coordinators, teachers navigate those solutions. Figure out what works best for them, kind of given the other products that they already have, some of their goals in the STEM area, and then what's realistic too, kind of given their budget and timeline. And so we can help kind of put together not only what products fit best, but also provide some professional development on those products so they know how to use them in the classroom. They know what resources go together, and we're local. And so we're always there to support our clients as well through their journey implementing a lot of these different resources if they have questions too.
Yeah, I love that. So I love that it goes beyond, just your individual solutions, that you can really help be thought partners and make a plan for them, for their district to make that happen. And then, of course, those instructional strategies that are so important for online and blended learning. And so, you do have professionals on staff who are STEM specialists who can support that work. And
Absolutely.
then the last part of it is those, that high impact and implementing technology and tools related to the above. I love that you also have the feature where students can take pieces home, because we know that almost every home has the ability to pull some things together to do making. Yet we also know, and as a former STEM teacher, I know that it takes time and thought to put those together, right? And so it's fabulous that you have a team working on that. Can you tell us any stories from the field of some use with that?
I can. One of my favorite stories when we came out with the individual STEM kits, right? And I'd say it was one of our first ideas in March of 2020 as a way to kind of pivot from whole classroom kits to individual kits. And we did a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club in Bedford, Indiana, and they dropped a variety of different STEM kits into lunches that families picked up. And they did not only STEM kits, but they also did other types of kits. They had seeds and other things that they had pulled from the community. And I loved seeing what students did with the individual kits. It was the best to kind of see, I think from my perspective, how they used it in their play to take learning all day long. They used the make-do kits to make, castles and to make things that they were reading about. And that was really the surprise to me, was to kind of see how much it spread to all the families too. Like you said, we don't really know what students have access to all the time, and it takes a lot of time to put that together. And so some of these solutions enable students to do that without necessarily parental involvement the entire way. And it allows them to kind of explore some of their interests as well, which can be really fun for students to engage in hands-on learning in that way.
And I love what you just said about for example, what they're reading and what they can build upon that. So, really engaging students, and it can loop back around to really engage them in what they're reading when they know that, oh, I'm reading this, and then there's a possibility of a chance for me to do some exploring based on the reading. And we all know that we need as much reading engagement.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I don't think making is extra. I hear that a lot, is that we just don't have time for it. And I would say to that, we take what you're reading and explore deeper with a hands-on something. And it doesn't have to be fancy or digital. It just has to be, something that you get the students involved in. And whether you're online or in person, there's ways to facilitate that get students really excited. And they'll remember that book far longer because they've made something to go with it. And I think that is the best story at the end of the day.
Absolutely. That's a great, I think, and that's a great point to end on. So thank you for sharing the solutions that you have to offer. And again, folks, remember that First Makerspace is an ESCFI official partner. And so there is special member pricing for the solutions that they offer. Thanks for being with us today, Mary. We really appreciate it.